be in Cleveland, Mississippi for the 50 Nights of Lights. We welcome to the program now Tricia Walker, retired director of the Delta Music Institute at Delta State University, also considered Cleveland's music ambassador and founder of Deep Roots Music. Appreciate you coming on there, Tricia.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
This museum is really incredible, and what a great job it does in showcasing not only the music as an art form, but also the many talented and very successfu Mississippi musicians.
Absolutely. More than any other state in the union, more Grammy winners.
Unbelievable. So I've asked Mr. Steve Azar the question before as to why he thinks that Mississippi is the home to so many successful musical artists. What would be your viewpoint on the subject?
Oh, it's a good question, I just think, for the most part, we've got time on our hands. We've got a lot of space.
Yeah.
And back in the day when all that great music was being written, there just wasn't a whole lot going on, and it's part of our oral tradition, our storytelling tradition.
That's what he said.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just in our gene pool here in Mississippi to
says we're great storytellers.
We are the best storytellers.
And so that certainly manifests itself in music, but also in the many world-class authors as
That's
well.
Right. That's absolutely. And
all
painters.
From Mississippi. Yeah.
We're all, it's just a creative state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if it's the diverse culture, if that's a factor. Also, the terrain is so different. If you look at the various regions of the state, and other states have that, but they're a little bit more spread out. I think ours, in sort of a compact area, has these contrasting cultures, contrasting terrain. Just different habits and lifestyles. I think all that blends together just to make for a lot to make music about and write about.
I think so too. You're absolutely right that I think the diversity of Mississippi contributes. And the parts of our state. I grew up in Southwest Mississippi, a little bit hillier, Natchez Trace. Yeah. But here in the Delta, which is unlike any other part of Mississippi, flat. You can see for miles and miles. Then you got people on the coast. They do things a little differently down there. So it's a great melting pot of all kinds of styles and flavors, and big gumbo is what it is.
Good way to describe it, I would say. And I'm not sure that a lot of folks from outside of our great state realize that until they come here, and then they kind of observe it on their own. But it's sort of a bit of a well-kept secret. But again, you can find out about it by listening to our music, or the music produced by Mississippi artists, and certainly in their literary works as well.
Absolutely. My favorite thing, I lived in Tennessee for a long time, and I would bring friends down to visit Mississippi who had never been, and they're like, oh my gosh, we didn't know it was like this. This is fabulous. And so always one of my favorite things to bring friends to Mississippi.
Yeah. All right, so I see you've got your Deep Roots sweatshirt on today.
Yeah, I'm representing.
Well, tell us about that. Exactly what do you do there?
Well, Deep Roots is a concept. When I retired from Delta State from the entertainment industry program at DMI, I was looking for ways to continue kind of some of the work we had done. And, musicians, and I can say this because I am one, we're sort of lone rangers. We're kind of wandering in the wilderness out there, and we need a shepherd. And so I figured we would try to pull together a movement to try to pull some local musicians together. We branded it Deep Roots partly because of the Grammy Museum, which celebrates all forms of American music, but particularly here, and it is an intentional play on words, Deep Roots. Roots music is part of that Americana sound, which includes things like blues, bluegrass, country, soul, gospel, rock and roll, all those great genres that came from America. And so we assembled a cast, a roster, if you will, of local artists. And so Deep Roots, our intent is to provide live music here in Cleveland 5 nights a week, local live music, and really begin to celebrate the different forms of roots music, and reminding people that musicians are small businesses as well. It's an economic and community development type project.
Sure, makes perfect and total sense. So how does that figure into tourism in the area, just the promotion of the music and the Deep Roots music genre in general? How does that figure into tourism and just economic vitality here in Cleveland, do you think?
Well, you can't come to the Delta or Mississippi on a broader stage, but certainly the Delta without considering music. And, of course, blues is the deepest root of all, which, gave birth to so many other styles of American music. So we wanted to provide that when tourists come. They come looking for live music and wanting to, listen to live music. And we weren't able to really advertise that we had consistent live music until we put it together under this Deep Roots umbrella.
Yeah.
And then the other part of that, too, is economic development. Having, developed the program at Delta State, is to try to, begin to develop that ecosystem of music business here. We've got recording studios here. We have photographers here. We have people who do music videos here. So we're trying to build that ecosystem here in Cleveland and in the Delta to provide those services for professional musicians who want to come here.
Okay. So they learn about that, experience it, understand the rich history the area has with respect to music, and perhaps they think about setting up shop here, just making it their home.
Absolutely. Part of my personal mission, when I was teaching at Delta State, is to encourage our graduates, because I know, I wanted to leave Mississippi and go to bigger pastures, but having done that, and now that technology has changed the world we live in, try to encourage those young graduates just to stay in the area for a few years,
Sure.
mature a little bit, put down some roots. Cost of living here is a whole lot less than it is in the major music centers, for sure.
Yeah.
And you got the things you need. I mean, I left Mississippi to go to Nashville because you had to leave back then. But now these days, technology, you can connect with anybody, anytime, anywhere on your laptop. So you don't have to leave. I mean, it's always good to leave and travel, broaden your perspectives, but you can put your base down here and do everything you want to do from here.
It's a great way to describe it. So what do you think we should do to, encourage and inspire our youth to take a more active interest in music, or perhaps even becoming a musician?
Well, the Grammy Museum is one thing. They do a great job. I'm not sure enough of our young people coming up realize the depth and the richness of the musical history that Mississippi has and has produced. So number one, you need to learn where you came from and all the people that helped make it great. Mm-hmm. And then, you treat it, it's kind of a difficult thing because technology has made making music easier in some regards. But again, if you're going to be a musician, you have to dedicate yourself to the craft, whether you're going to be a singer, guitar player, piano player. You really have to work hard. It's not as glamorous as people think it is,
Sure.
You have to put the work in. But music is something you can do all your life.
Yeah.
Till the day you leave this earth. If your health holds up, you can do music forever.
Yeah. So at a minimum, you ought to try it out. See if it fits you.
Absolutely. People need music. My sermon is music makes us better, and it does. We need music in the world.
Yeah, and then talk about Delta State and its connection to music, Mississippi's music here in the Delta, located right here in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm. Well, Delta State's great. It's got I was a graduate of what I call their traditional music department, choir and band and professional lessons. And then when I came back from Nashville to develop the Delta Music Institute, is to open up a whole new, educational path for all those things around music that young people didn't really know about, how to be an agent, how to be a publisher, how to be a producer. And all of that affects music in the Delta, just trying to, lift these musicians up, trying to give them some professional services that they need, and to hopefully help, and I think we've done this pretty well, and there's always room for improvement, to help the community really begin to value musicians in a different way. Yes, we know that sometimes it's just a guitar player sitting in the corner and nobody's really listening, but that brings value not only to the musician but to the community. So anything we can do on a professional level on these margins of what Deep Roots is trying to do and what Delta State has done with the entertainment industry program will help musicians feel like they're really a valued part of the community.
That's a good point, and no doubt, the blessing of individual talent is a key factor. But in general, there's more to the story behind those who succeeded, is there not? That had a lot of help from other folks.
Oh yeah, nobody gets there on their own, and there are no shortcuts. I'm working with a young man right now out of Natchez who is an incredibly talented piano player. And he can do a lot by himself, but to really go to the next step, you have to build your network, as in any industry, but certainly in the music industry. You develop that network of people who can help open doors for you and move you forward in your career. So you don't get there alone.
Tricia, appreciate you coming on and sharing your musical insights, and thanks for your contributions in the music world to our state.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
We're stepping aside for a break right now. We're coming right back. Half an hour left on Middays. We're live at the Grammy Museum in Cleveland, Mississippi for Cleveland's 50 Nights of Lights.